Around 110 million years ago, during the early Cretaceous period, the area we now know as Alberta, Canada, was covered in dense fern forests and lush coastal plains. Here lived one of the most spectacular armored creatures to ever walk the earth, Borealopelta, Mark Michelli. The name Borealopelta translates to Northern Shield, a highly fitting title for its appearance. Measuring about 5.5 meters in length and weighing around 1.3 tons, Borealopelta belongs to the Nodosauridae family, armored dinosaurs that lacked a tail club. Thanks to a perfectly preserved fossil that looks almost like a sleeping statue, scientists have gained an unprecedented, detailed look into the life of this dinosaur. Despite possessing a massive, spiky suit of armor, Borealopelta was not a creature that liked to show off its strength or swagger across the plains. Instead, its lifestyle was built around defense, evasion, and a peaceful existence. Borealopelta moved rather slowly on 4 short, sturdy legs, spending most of its day wandering through low vegetation. The most fascinating aspect of Borealopelta's lifestyle was revealed through its fossil: camouflage. Fossilized pigment analysis showed that this dinosaur had rusty, reddish-brown skin on its back that faded to white on its underbelly. This mechanism is known as countershading. In modern animals like deer or sharks, countershading helps eliminate the body's shadow under the sunlight, allowing them to blend into their surroundings as a flat, two-dimensional shape. The fact that a 1.3-ton, heavily armored animal still needed to evolve camouflage reveals a harsh truth about the Cretaceous period. Borealopelta's habitat was incredibly dangerous, and armor alone was not enough to survive. They preferred a solitary lifestyle, or lived in small groups, hiding in bushes and forest edges to avoid prying eyes. As a herbivore with a relatively narrow snout, Borealopelta was not a vacuum cleaner that ate everything in its path. It was a highly selective, picky eater. Thanks to a fossil specimen that preserved its stomach contents intact, its final meal before death, paleontologists know exactly what this dinosaur ate. Primary diet. Surprisingly, 88% of the food in Borealopelta's stomach consisted of fern leaves, specifically a type of fern with sporangia. They completely ignored other common plants in their environment at the time, such as cycads and conifers. Ecological adaptation. Scientists also found a significant amount of charcoal mixed in its stomach. This suggests a fascinating ecological behavior. Borealopelta frequently sought out areas that had recently experienced wildfires. After a fire, tender young ferns are usually the first plants to sprout. Borealopelta took advantage of this soft, nutrient-rich food source. Digestion. They also swallowed small stones, gastroliths, to help grind up the tough, fibrous fern leaves in their stomachs, making the digestive process much more efficient. Why would a tank like Borealopelta need camouflage? The answer lies in the apex predators that shared its world. North America during the early Cretaceous was the domain of massive and terrifying carnivorous dinosaurs, theropods, Acrocanthosaurus, and similar Carcharodontosaurids. These were giant apex predators, measuring over 11 meters long, weighing several tons, and packing a devastating bite force. If a Borealopelta was spotted in the open, it would immediately become a target for these monsters. Deinonychus and other dromaeosaurs, intelligent carnivores. Though smaller, these fast-moving, pack-hunting predators could pose a serious threat to young, old, or sick Borealopelta individuals. The existence of camouflage on Borealopelta's back proves that its natural enemies hunted primarily using vision. The carnivores of that era had excellent eyesight. Borealopelta had to use its coloration to turn invisible against the forest floor. If the camouflage failed, they were forced to face their final option: combat. Unlike its cousin Ankylosaurus, which had a giant bone club on its tail to shatter predators' legs, Borealopelta, being a nodosaur, did not have a tail club. Therefore, its battles were heavily reliant on passive defense, utilizing its impenetrable armor and giant shoulder spikes. When spotted and approached by a massive predator like Acrocanthosaurus, Borealopelta couldn't run away due to its slow speed. Instead, it would deploy the impenetrable fortress tactic. Lowering the center of gravity, it would drop its limbs and press its soft, unarmored belly tightly against the ground. At this moment, the dinosaur turned into a solid dome of sharp spikes. Deadly shoulder spikes, parascapular spines. Borealopelta's most dangerous weapons were the two massive spikes jutting out from its shoulders. These were about half a meter long and covered in a highly durable keratin sheath. If a predator lunged in for a bite, Borealopelta could twist its body, ramming or heavily swiping its spiked shoulder toward the enemy's legs or snout. A thrust from these spikes, backed by 1.3 tons of muscle, was more than enough to tear flesh or cripple any careless carnivore. Borealopelta didn't just fight other species, they also engaged in combat with their own kind. Scientists believe their magnificent shoulder spikes, with bright keratin contrasting against dark skin, served as display billboards. During mating season, males likely used these spikes to intimidate rivals. If a visual display didn't resolve the issue, they would engage in violent wrestling matches. They would ram their shoulders into each other, testing their strength and pushing forward, much like how modern rhinos or buffaloes established dominance. The thick armor on their backs allowed them to withstand heavy impacts from their peers without suffering fatal injuries. Borealopelta is not just a beautifully preserved fossil, it is a living testament to the ultimate art of survival. It was the perfect combination of silent, visual illusion and heavily armed readiness. Through Borealopelta, we get a realistic glimpse into the Cretaceous period, a world where even a massive, armored tank had to know how to hide, carefully choose its meals, and fight tenaciously to secure its life every single day.